This is all about Carroll County Public Schools. And from my point of view, and I think, from a lot of people's point of view, they're the first, best, and really only choice for Carroll County, for the parents and for the kids and for the taxpayer and for the communities. And so that's what I'm going to kind of deal with today. I was surprised, actually. I should have known this given how long my connections here, but there are actually 25 public schools in Carroll County, and they serve about 5,300 students. 5,300 students. There are two private schools. One costs $40,000 as a religious school, and it has 8 grades, 6 teachers. So it's not much of an option, actually. So given that, when you think about it, the first and best and really only choice for the vast majority of parents, communities, and taxpayers in Carroll County, and I'm going to repeat this several times, are the public schools. So the imbalance, the state has about 128 private and religious schools. Carroll County, 2. Hillsborough, for example, has 50 private and religious schools. Carroll County, 2. All the funding comes out of a special educational taxpayer-supported pool of money. And that money, pretty obviously, is flowing to the urban, high-population private and religious schools. The voucher program is shortcoming Carroll County parents, kids, communities, and taxpayers. That money that's flowing out, 75% of the children who are now getting these vouchers never attended public school. So this is money that's lumped on top of what we used to pay for schools. This is new money that's going to people who are never funded by the public funds. And the upshot is, $24 million went to vouchers. 18 of them are going to people who never went to the public schools. So another problem is there's like zero fiscal oversight of what's happening to that money. The Republican-controlled New Hampshire Department of Education refuses to have an audit. No one knows how money is being used, who's profiting, who's losing, and also no one knows if the children are getting a decent education or not. No one knows that for sure. This is the commissioner of Edelblut, and he has kind of blocked everything that people want to do when they want to do audits. He says, that this is money is really controlled by a private group, nonprofit, and so we can't look at the money, even though it's our money that goes in there. So nobody really has an idea how well or how poorly this money is being spent. Another option, if you didn't go to the private schools and all, would be, the pandemic gave kids a taste of homeschooling, and the vast majority of the parents, they rejected homeschooling. Obviously, they're back in school. They couldn't wait to get back into school. And the kids, the same thing. And the kids really got a 2-year setback from trying to learn at home. It doesn't work really well. So again, best choice, public schools. So last year, the tax bill was about $24 million. It could get much, much worse. Now it's only for lower income families, but the GOP is pushing for universal vouchers for everyone, including the super rich. This will make that urban-rural imbalance worse and could well jeopardize our schools. Arizona, for example, did the same thing. They started out saying, hey, this is a program just for low-income kids, because low-income kids could have the same opportunities that high-income kids. So they passed it, they went, and within a not very long time, now everyone gets the vouchers. And the consequence in Arizona, it busted their budget, the state budget. $324 million the state didn't, wasn't anticipating hit the bottom line. And it's happening in Ohio, and it's happening in just about every place that went for vouchers for everyone's taking a tax beating. So another thing that's going on is that In-Depth New Hampshire recently reported that this group that's kind of looking at the qualifications, they did a sample. It was a small sample, but it was a sample, and 25% of the people, $2.4 million were going to people who filled out erroneous forms. They don't know where the money is really going. These people, if this is another case, you would want to know, why didn't they fill out the forms correctly? And they didn't qualify. They might not have qualified. Nobody knows. And so Gary Reno he's a columnist, spent years at the Concord Monitor, really great reporter. He's saying, obviously, we need more oversight. So do I. I'd say the same thing. And then he asked the question, well, what happens if this were families asking for welfare? The voucher taxpayer handouts are overseen by this group called the Children's Scholarship Fund. This is the one that can't audit. It's obvious that the CSF finds ways to certify students, this is Gary Reno, for the EF, this is an Educational Freedom Account program, whether or not their qualifications are determined by the guidelines and statutes or not. They're given the money, it doesn't really matter. Screw up on your, don't do your qualifications, don't put your application, don't make it right. Don't worry, you're gonna get the money. And so he asked the question, would the cheerleaders for the EFA program feel the same way about those applying for the state's welfare program or temporary assistance for needy families? Anybody came up and said, hey, I need some money, you give them money and you don't really check the books. That's basically what's happening here. So what's happening in Carroll County, though, is happening to rural communities nationwide. This is not me making up some sort of thing that just pertains to Carroll County. It's across the country. Rural GOP conservatives in Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio, Mississippi, Texas, no vouchers will eventually mean the end of their precious public schools, and they're fighting them like crazy. But I'll show you in a while, it's a really, really tough uphill battle. So, happened in Texas. Here's a couple examples of people talking who've seen this happen to them. A woman, a public school parent in rural Oklahoma. Wealthier families are asking lower income rural Oklahomans to foot the bill to send their kids to private schools. That's what's happening. And this guy, the second quote here is from rural GOP Tennessee State Rep Todd Werner. He loves Donald Trump. He loves everything conservative. He also loves his rural public schools, and he wants to preserve them, and he knows what they're doing are going to kill their public schools. And so he's fighting from that. And he said, look, 95% of our students, our future business leaders, our future, future town leaders are going to public schools. Why take that away? So again, same thing's happening. 75% in almost all these places is going to people who never sent their kids to school. It's an added tax burden as it would be here. And it's almost, if you think about it in some ways, if there's 50 schools in Hillsborough and 2 here, it's almost taxation without representation. So every Carroll County Republican candidate seems to favor these rural New Hampshire taxpayers putting the bill to send wealthy families' kids to private schools. Good news is that we have folks in here who are taking the opposite, tack. And our Democrats across the county are trying to stop the voucher rural urban imbalance, prevent lower and middle income families paying for rich kids, families, exclusive private education, and ensure our public schools, parents, kids, communities, and taxpayers get the best deal. That's what they're after. There's an election in November, and how you vote could determine the fate of our rural schools in the towns and villages they serve. Here's the good news. So here in Carroll County, first of all, the bad news. First, here in Carroll County, Glenn Cordelli, Katie Peternell, and Mike Belcher all serve on the GOP State House Education Committee. And they claim parents should have choice, but contrary to what they're pushing, parents in rural areas don't have choices. If I gave you $5,000 and you're a parent right now, what the hell would you do with it? I mean, what would you do? Would you go to the $45,000 school and pay the other $35,000? Would you travel all across the county to go to this one little other school? There's a couple other choices, but not many. So fortunately in the room here, we have Sandra Ringelstein and Kim. Where's Kim at? There's Kim over there. And they're both running, and they have spent a long time looking at public schools. Both of them have served on the Moultonborough Academy, which is a public school, PTA, and they know what's going on, and they're going to fight for our students. You can learn more about Sandra Ringelstein here, and you can learn more about Kim Johnson here.
If you live in Madison, Tamworth, and Moultonborough, you get to vote for both of them. Please vote for both. Thank you.